of that section D was why it would be limited to a year, not related to course study.
As you know, I've on this bill, we had short discussions on it. I've tried to coordinate with the Department of Education, CTAE programs, and the Metro Chamber on this in order to make sure we put these so we can study these further in a study committee in the interim, if this chamber so chooses. One of the issues that we face, I think a lot of employers complain about, is having our students having soft skills, and I do believe this would help in those soft skills.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
I will.
Thank you. The terms that have been outlined here in this bill, do they only apply in this code section, or are they meant to apply throughout the code?
If you will read on line 23, it says very clearly, as used in this code section.
Great, just wanted to double check. Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Ask for favorable consideration.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 447? The chair sees none. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 466?
Senate Bill number 466 by Senator Martin of the 9th and others. A bill to be titled an act to amend Part 6 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to employment under the Quality Basic Education Act so as to remove the needs improvement rating from the group of performance evaluations rating, which may adversely impact an educator's ability to obtain a renewable certificate from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission and for other purposes. Mr. President, on March 4th, 2020, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted by Senator Martin of the 9th, Chair. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Education and Youth offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 466. A bill to be titled an act to amend Part 6 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to employment under the Quality Basic Education Act so as to remove the needs development rating from the group of performance evaluation ratings which may adversely impact an educator's ability to obtain a renewable certificate from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the very busy senator from the 9th to speak to Senate Bill 466.
Not quite as busy as my colleague from Macon, but I'm trying. SB 46 is a bill that was brought to me by the Department of Education. Our current teacher ratings program requires that teachers who receive the ratings of ineffective, unsatisfactory, or needs development 2 times in a 5-year period to lose their teaching certificate. What we've been finding is that administrators have been unwilling to give the the needs development piece rating to teachers because they're worried about making sure that we keep the teachers in our workforce. So what we're seeing is that we're getting artificially inflated performance evaluations and teachers who do need development, but they're not getting the appropriate direction from their supervisors in order to make changes to improve their performance. So SB 466 does 2 things. First, it removes the needs development from this list so that we can make sure these teachers begin to receive the appropriate instruction and that they can improve their performance. Secondly, the bill sets up language for the Department of Education to create a pilot performance review program with up to 10 districts around the state. The new pilot program shall provide for embedded supports, professional development opportunities, recognition and advancement for highly effective teachers, the creation of a pathway for progression, and a differentiation of performance, and that's directly from the bill. In other words, the goal is that this should be instructive to parents and school administrators, but it also should provide for better instruction and pathways for improvement for teachers. So I will yield if there are no questions.
You have a question. Chair recognizes the senator from the 15th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Of course.
I have a question. You mentioned it removes the needs development category, that a teacher has some kind of notice that they are sliding down a slope and they need to check themselves, or a program is provided for that. Why are we removing that, if you will?
We're not removing the needs development. It stays. We're just removing it from the list, where if you get 2 of those in 5 years, you would lose your certification. The district can, what we're seeing is they're not even giving the needs development. They're not even giving that rating. Very, very rarely are they giving that. So what you'll see is that a teacher may get just an unsatisfactory. Rather than getting, so they're not getting appropriate feedback from the administrators, because they're afraid to give that in order to preserve their teaching force.
So it's true, isn't it true that they're getting no longer needs development kind of thing is removed altogether?
It's removed. You can still receive that, but it's received as an instructive so that you can get better as a teacher.
Okay, thank you.
You have no more questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 466? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. I want to take a minute and thank a very, very hard worker today, who's the only remaining page that we've got here today. If we could all thank Circe Hobbs for coming here and helping us today. God bless you for being the only remaining page to deal with this chamber. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption for Senate Resolution 833?
Senate Resolution 833 by Senator Martin of the 9th and others. A resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Preparing Our Future Workforce and for other purposes. Mr. President, on March 2nd, 2020, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Mullis of the 53rd Chair. Mr. President, Senator Henson of the 41st and Martin of the 9th offer the following amendment number 1 to amend Senate Resolution 833 by striking on line 55 and by striking on line 57 and inserting in lieu thereof the following and. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the still busy senator from the 9th to speak to Senate Resolution 833 and the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been told that I have less than 30 seconds, so I'll go quick. As I mentioned earlier, we have a joint study committee around workforce, work study programs called the Joint Study Committee on Preparing Our Future Workforce. So we hope to do that. I ask for your favorable consideration. I have, in working with the minority leader in rules, we had a discussion. The amendment we are adding that a representative from organized labor should be appointed by the governor to take part in this, into this study committee. And he was letting me know, and he's correct, that we have over 5,000 union workers around the state, and they have apprenticeship programs in place. They've been doing that effectively for years, many of those around construction. So I'd ask for your favorable consideration for the resolution and also for the amendment.
You have no questions. Does the minority leader wish to speak to his amendment? He waives. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill or the amendment? All right, let's take up the amendment. Is there objection to adoption of the amendment number 1? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the resolution as amended. All those in favor of the resolution will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. This one, right, Ben? On the adoption of the resolution as amended, the yeas are 48, the nays are 1. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted as amended. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of Senate Resolution 793.
Senate Resolution 793 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others. Resolution creating the Joint Private Financing of Infrastructure Study Committee and for other purposes. Mr. President, on February 26, 2020, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Mullis of the 53rd Chair. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 1st to speak to Senate Resolution 793.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm standing in for Senator Beach. Senator from the 21st. This came out of the Georgia Commission on Freight and Logistics Commission, and it basically is a resolution that creates the Joint Private Financing of Infrastructure Study Committee to examine and recommend ways that the public and private officials in Georgia can be better educated and equipped to pursue public-private partnerships. That's basically it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If not, I ask for your favorable consideration.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Resolution 793? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. The resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 28?
Senate Bill number 28 by Senator Jackson II and others. A bill to be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 24 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding insurance generally, so as prohibits certain insurers from imposing a co-payment, co-insurance, or office visit charge in an amount greater than such charges imposed for physician and for other purposes. Mr. President, on March 4th, 2020, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Watson of the first chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 28, a bill to be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 24 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding insurance generally, so as to establish criteria for co-payments and certain health benefit plans and for other purposes. That completes order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd to speak to Senate Bill 28.
Thank you, Mr. President. The hour is late, so I bring to you Senate Bill 28 quickly. Senate Bill 28 simply qualifies language from the Insurance Commissioner rule stating that copay shall be reasonable. This legislation does not apply to Medicaid or ERISA plans, only to plans overseen by the Insurance Commissioner. This is a very simple bill, but it does a lot for the citizens of this great state. I urge your favorable consideration of this plan, and let's move Georgia forward. Thank you, Mr. President. If there are no questions, I yield the will.
You have no questions. Senators yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 28? The chair sees none. The questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 387?
Senate Bill number 387 by Senator Jordan of the 6th, a bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 22-187 of the OCGA relating to statewide school lunch program, instruction in nutrition, hygiene, etiquette, and social graces, and school food and nutrition personnel, and for other purposes. Mr. President, on March 4th, 2020, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Martin of the 9th chair. That please order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th to speak to Senate Bill 387.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill was prompted by a widespread belief that it was or is illegal for a school to use or give away uneaten items of food that are prepared as part of a school's cooking or culinary program. The reality is that it's not illegal, but there are certain guidelines that schools need to follow. And one of the requests that we've got from school systems is that there actually be some kind of rules and regulations that they can follow to make sure that they're not running afoul of the law. So basically, that's all this does. It just requests that the Board of Education promulgate some procedural requirements so that if a school wishes to actually use surplus food to feed their hungry children, then they can do that.
You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 387? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. For what purpose does the senator from the 18th rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that Senate Bill 388 be removed from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill number 388 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others. A bill to be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to general income tax provisions so as to increase the penalties imposed for certain actions relating to false or fraudulent material matter on returns, affidavits, claims, or documents. Provided that such actions must be taken knowingly to be unlawful and for other purposes. Three amendments have been attached and are on your desk. That please order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for 2 minutes to open up debate. 2 minutes to open up debate. Hold on a second. I got to take this. We've got to go through it. Is there objection to taking Senate Bill 388 off the table? The chair hears none, and Senate Bill 388 is taken off the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for 2 minutes to open up debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for bearing with us. It's late in the evening. This hopefully won't take long. I had presented Senate Bill 388 a few days ago to you and had some discussions, and you had some questions about it. Let me tell you a little bit briefly what it does. It's a one-page bill, and it simply takes the penalty for those who aid others in filing false and fraudulent tax returns from a misdemeanor to a felony. And please understand that this does three things, really. One, it provides consistency in enforcement. The equivalent acts are felonies in both state and federal level. Filing a fraudulent tax preparation is a felony on the federal level. Providing a false statements and false documents to a state agency is a felony. And evasion of taxes by an individual presenting by false documents is also a felony. Second, the current misdemeanor that's in the statute now is simply not enough to deter this bad conduct. Third, this also protects Georgia taxpayers. Fraudulent tax preparers harm the individual taxpayer because the Department of Revenue must recoup those fraudulent returns from individual taxpayers. There were some questions about what does this model look like? And the basic model is of the people that are engaging in this fraudulent conduct are tax preparers that are typically small entities that work out of their homes. They unfortunately target our low-income Georgians and our unsophisticated Georgians. They acquire a business usually through word of mouth. They're paid up front in cash, such as I'll guarantee you an X dollar refund if you pay me X dollars now. One of the questions that was asked also was the impact on Georgia. One of the cases that the Department of Revenue discussed with me without giving identification of names was one tax preparer had filed 4,342 tax returns with 1,484 having to be adjusted by the Department of Revenue because of the fraudulent nature of those that were filed. The original refund amount was $3.2 million, and the loss to Georgia was $2.8 million. I see that I've got a red light, so, Mr. President, I will yield the well. Oh, if I could, yeah, if I may. Okay, sure. So come back. Okay.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 388? Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th to speak to amendment number 1. He waives. Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th to speak to amendment number 2. She waives. We're on a roll here. Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th to speak to the amendment number 3. Where's the senator? All right. We've all waved. Senator from the 10th wish to speak to amendment number 3? Okay, he waives. All right, let's take him up. Ready? Yes, I got the senator from the 15th. Hang on one second.
Nope, okay.
Late. Oh, he just took his button off.
Okay.
He's going to close.
All right.
All right, Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for your time and attention on this. With regard to the amendments, I'm fine with amendment number 1. I think it's the core of many of you, Senator from the 15th, Senator from the 6th, and some others that had some concerns about making sure that the fraudulent information was knowingly provided. So if you'll look at the amendment provided by the Senator from Vidalia, by adding the words after which on line 16 said person knows is false and fraudulent. That way we've added knowingly in the 2 areas to make sure that the person aiding someone in doing this, that they in fact know that they're doing it improperly. I would ask you to vote no on amendments 2 and 3. They change the nature of the bill and unfortunately water it down. Finally, when you're thinking about this, think of 2 things. Number 1, if you or I file a fraudulent tax return, guess what? It's a felony. But for people that are getting paid hundreds or thousands of dollars to help others file fraudulent tax returns, it's a misdemeanor. Now that simply doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't. So finally, I would ask that you please vote for the bill, vote yes on Amendment 1, no on Amendments 2 and 3. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. All right, now we're going to take up the amendments. Is there objection to adoption of amendment number 1? The chair hears none. Amendment number 1 is adopted. Is there objection to adopting amendment number 2? There is objection. All those in favor of amendment number 2 will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of amendment number 2, the yeas are 22, the nays are 30, and the amendment is lost. All right, now we're going to take up amendment number 3. Is there objection to adoption of amendment number 3? There is objection. All those in favor of amendment number 3 will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of amendment number 3, the yeas are 23, the nays are 29, and the amendment is lost. All right, now we're going to take up the bill. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 34, the nays are 20. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Mr. Secretary, will you please read a message from the House?
The following message was received from the House through Mr. Riley, the clerk thereof. Mr. President, the House has passed by the requisite constitutional majority the following bills of the House. House Bill 1111 by Representative Welsh of the 110th and others. A bill to be titled an Act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 12 of Title 45 of the OCGA relating to management of budgetary and financial affairs, so as to remove certain provisions related to homeowner tax relief grants, to revise definition.
Rules.
House Bill 1112 by Representative Perkle of the 155th and others. A bill titled an Act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 12 of Title 45 and Article 2 of Chapter 17 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to management of budgetary and financial affairs and state financing and investment respectfully, so as to repeal certain duties of the Office of Planning and Budget related to state agencies and state government, to add the Georgia Technology Authority to the definition of state authorities for state financing and investment, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Without objection, rules. The chair hears none.
That completes the
Chair recognizes the minority leader. For what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that, and I believe you kind of did a shortened version, but it's not true that we waived the rules, there was no objection to waiving the rules to have these read and placed in the committees?
That's correct. That's correct. Chair recognizes the majority leader. Mr. Secretary, will you please read the announcements?
Rules Committee will reconvene upon adjournment in 4:50 CAP. Tomorrow, Joint Appropriations Conference Committee will meet in 4:03 CAP at 8:30 a.m. Rules is canceled. Public Safety is canceled. Finance will meet in Mez 1 at 1:30 p.m. Education and Youth is canceled. Economic Development and Tourism is canceled. Health and Human Services is canceled. Judiciary is canceled. And Retirement is canceled. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the majority leader for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just letting y'all know, I talked with GBA. They're coming down and doing a precautionary spray down of all the offices tonight and the building, just out of abundance of caution there. Two things that I get asked: no, you don't need to do anything to your office. They'll work around just like the cleaning crews do. Second thing is, if you see something moved in your office, don't panic unless it's gone. Don't panic. you know, they're going to have to move some stuff around when they're spraying stuff down. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Rules Chairman for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, a while ago, earlier today, we continued our meeting, so we never adjourned. So there are a few bills we're going to put on for this evening for Thursday. So please attend if you can. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 31st for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Due to the fact that we were here a little bit late today and the work schedule for tomorrow, our Legislative Prayer Fellowship has been moved until 8 a.m. tomorrow, 8 a.m. That'll be held in the Governor's Conference Room. Love to have you join us.
Chair recognizes the Appropriations Chairman for an announcement.
Just as a heads up, the subcommittee on appropriations will start meeting Friday morning. There'll be a schedule out. There already is a schedule out in my office. We should be sending it out to you at your email address as well. Just want to give everybody notice that we'll be having subcommittee meetings starting on Friday. Thank you.
The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Thursday, March 12, 2020 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it, and the Senate stands adjourned. Good work. Thank you.